Well, looks like we have a game to talk about. Today we're going to be... Get these things off of me. These dead headphones that I only just reviewed one video ago. Make sure you go check that out. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus, or as we all know it, Palworld. Palworld, as you can see, is a blatant Pokemon ripoff. However, unlike the other ones that have come and gone over the years, this one is quite different. Of course, there's a lot of parody involved in this one. However, when you actually take a deep dive into what this game entails, when you look at the amount of content that's included, and worst of all, when you compare this game to the actual thing, this is where things start to get interesting. And some people are actually preferring this game over the actual Legends Arceus game. It's pretty hilarious. But how could a B-Tech Pokemon game do so well in the gaming space? Well, before we even answer that question, some of you guys might be looking at me weirdly. SGB, why are you talking about a rip-off Pokemon game? What's going on? What even is this game? Alright, let me explain. Palworld is basically a rip-off of Pokemon Legends Arceus. But the real kicker here is that it actually looks a little bit cooler. And based off of what everyone is saying about the game, it actually plays a little bit cooler too. Now, this shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone because one, this game was made for PC in mind, so of course it's going to have more horsepower compared to a Nintendo Switch. But two, the Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch have been a bit of a mixed bag. But then, out of absolutely nowhere, at the start of 2024, an absolutely bizarre thing drops at the very start of the year, being Palworld. This blatant, very blatant clone of Pokemon Legends Arceus. However, they're doubling down with everything here. Graphics, the survival aspects, the collecting, the way you collect. Like, there's a lot of things going on here. Now, in terms of the premise, it is very, very similar. You basically roam around, survive, collect, and maneuver your way around a Breath of the Wild type of area. Much like a lot of games, but of course Pokemon Legends Arceus has its own take on that formula, and obviously Palworld is following that formula. There's definitely more variety of ways you can defend yourself in this game. This game hasn't even fully released and isn't even fully finished, and it's completely blown up on Steam. I think it's only behind PUBG as like the largest game at launch or something like that. It's pretty crazy. And on top of that, IGN gave this game an 8 on their review as well. Seeing that for a unfinished Steam game, especially one that's literally a clone of a very beloved franchise, I was very shocked about that. Let's be honest, I think at this point Palworld is going to win. I mean, it's already got the audience that it needs and it's in the spotlight. It's in the mainstream now. Like, everyone's talking about it, including myself. It's already looking pretty good. However, if this game were to flop, it would flop just as hard as you not subscribing and turning on the bell notification if you haven't done so already. You see what I did there? Basically, if you love gaming, you would absolutely love this channel. That's pretty much what this whole channel is about. So make sure that you hit that big red subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so that you don't miss a single one of my videos. Thanks. Okay, well, one reason straight off the bat as to why I think this game is going to succeed is simply because of the online multiplayer aspect. The fact that 32 players can be in one server and play, that's pretty big, and that's definitely more than Legends Arceus. And obviously comparing that to other mainstream games, it makes a lot of sense because the majority of them literally have some kind of online capability. So obviously Palworld having that, it's only going to help things. Now, most indie companies and most indie games struggle due to a lack of identity, not necessarily because there's no personality put into their product, but because nobody knows their product as an unknown entity. Even though this is true for Palworld, it is so blatantly a Pokemon ripoff that Pokemon as a company basically helps out with its identity. Simply being a Pokemon ripoff is going to help it stay in the spotlight. Think about it. Pokemon is one of the biggest video game franchises in the world. People are going to talk about it because of how absurd it is And also the audacity to do something like that as well, especially considering how strict Nintendo is when it comes to this stuff. The fact that Nintendo hasn't even done anything about it probably also adds to the publicity as well. Because even if you look at this game, Palworld literally looks exactly like Pokemon Legends Arceus. Not only that, but the pals in Palworld look near identical to the Pokemon in Pokemon. So that is also going to draw attention to the game as well, due to its similarities to Pokemon. I mentioned earlier that Nintendo still hasn't made any major actions towards Palworld and the game itself, which is obviously great for the community and for us who now have the option to play Palworld. On Twitter, whether it's true or not, there has been people and programmers who have overlaid Pokemon models with PAL models, and a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, are overlaying each other like almost perfectly. Yongye made a video about this, so I don't want to go too much into it. He talked about it a lot more in depth and things like that. But yeah, seeing that was pretty absurd. Even though I don't know anything about programming or anything like that and models, just seeing that, although this is a parody, and you can blatantly tell that this is a parody, Nintendo could potentially use this in court if they ever decided to take it in that direction. But from the looks of things, Nintendo has been hiding under a rock, so hey, we'll see what happens. So of course, if Palworld is getting accused of plagiarism and they get into trouble with Nintendo because of it, that can obviously lead to the game's fall. The situation is bizarre, the game itself is bizarre, everything is just bizarre. So only time will tell if Palworld is able to keep up this momentum. You never know, it might be able to overtake PUBG. I doubt it, but it's still a possibility. And I may need to make a Steam account so I can try this game out. Unless I've done it already. My days, this game looks so familiar.